All right, guys, what a game last night that we saw down in Miami, Florida. What a game. What a performance by Notre Dame and Penn State. I mean, one of the best Orange Bowls that you're ever going to see in your life took place last night down in Coral Gables, down at Miami. That game, guys, had it all. And last year's Rose Bowl between Michigan and Alabama was one of the best games all year. Then we had this year in the playoff, we had Texas and Arizona State was really, one of the better games. And Notre Dame plays these styles of really close football games, and they grind it out with clock. And for Penn State, they do have to kick themselves because that was a golden opportunity. I mean, even though Drew Allar's only played a couple of years of college football, that was really their shot, with Abdul Carter, with this path to the playoff, playing against SMU and Boise State, getting a very favorable draw, and then being up 7 in the late in the fourth quarter against Notre Dame, and then being up 10-0 to start the game. End of first half, a couple of major plays in the game. End of first half, Penn State sacks the backup quarterback, Steve Angeli. The ball's on the ground. It looks like Penn State's going to recover and maybe go have a chance to score more points. It ends up Notre Dame recovers, and then Chase Jeter nails a field goal to make it 10-3. So that was a huge momentum turner. Early second quarter, Penn State 0-0 game. They drive all the way down the field, and then they try to go out there and hit, I think it's Singleton. I think it might have been Allen, actually. And the ball just goes off the running back's, it just goes off the back's leg. Could have had it. Not a great throw by Drew Allar either. So, man, oh man, just missed opportunities for Penn State. But really, Notre Dame, I give credit to Marcus Freeman because their passing game this year, they threw for 270 yards in this game, and they hit big explosive plays in the passing game. I mean, Riley Leonard in the second half, he dropped a dime to one of the running backs to start off the second half, like a good 35-yard throw. And then Greathouse, the wide receiver for Notre Dame, he had, I believe, a 60-yard touchdown reception. Guys ended up falling on the play for Penn State, but really Greathouse did a phenomenal job of cutting back. Instead of just going up the sidelines, he cut it back and he cribbed the ball. Jeremiah Love also, the way he ran in the second half, hurdling people, the touchdown run. This Notre Dame team is incredibly tough, but so is Penn State. I mean, Penn State had a really good running scheme. Andy Kotelnicki, Coach K, was calling a lot of stretch zone running plays, like running to the outsides, running to the crease of the Notre Dame defense, and they really were physical. They wore down Notre Dame in a lot of spots, and Drew Allar happened to make some throws to the tight ends because no wide receivers caught a pass. So for Penn State, you pay all this money for Beaver Stadium upgrades. You pay all this money for the practice facility. You pay all this money for strength and conditioning, for nutrition. But yet you don't have $2 million. You're probably paying upwards of maybe $300 million or something to renovate Beaver Stadium, or I'm not sure, maybe $70 million. To upgrade the parts of Beaver. You can't go out there and pay $3 million for 2 really good wide receivers in the transfer portal or 2 freshmen that are great. Like Cam Coleman, who went to Auburn, he would have massively helped out, Penn State in this football game. I know Evan Stewart didn't do that well, but there's wide receivers. I'm trying to even think of the guys. I think Golden was at Texas. I'm trying to even think of the transfer wide receivers that I can point to. I mean, Evan Stewart was a high-profile one. Now, he didn't play, but there was a lot of transfer wide receivers that were out there for Penn State that they could have looked like Isaiah Bond of Texas. He would have made a massive impact. He came from Alabama. Penn State needed to upgrade that room. They got Julian Fleming, and Fleming is a possession wide receiver. He couldn't really create separation, and he didn't really at Ohio State. So you have a quarterback in Drew Allar that can throw the ball 70 yards. You should utilize Allar's skill set by getting a deep downfield thrower. And Kotelnicki, I mean, he's only going to work with what he has. And he maximized this offense this year with Singleton, Allen, Tyler Warren. He got the ball in Tyler Warren's hands all the time. Put it in Wildcat. Had passing schemes to get Warren involved in the plays. So Coach K, I think, is fantastic. I think Coach K is a big reason why they won the Minnesota game or why they won the USC game. And I also think Drew Allar is a reason for that as well. So I thought Drew Allar took steps this year. Now, Drew Allar's a big kid, 6'5", I think, and for him, it takes time for him to still process, and he's a little bit like happy feet in the pocket and fading back in the pocket. He needs another year in Coach K's system. He needs to be a guy that's very, very decisive, even playing against great defenses, because even against Boise, against SMU, he's indecisive. He has all the arm talent in the world. There's not many quarterbacks out there that are 6'5", that are able to throw on the run, that are able to move, that are 250 pounds, and that could throw the ball 70 yards. I mean, there's not many quarterbacks like that out there, and he's not just a sitting duck in the pocket. So Drew Allar has talent enough. I'm not saying he's as fast as Justin Herbert, but if Drew can put it together, he could be a really, really good NFL quarterback, and he could be an awesome college quarterback. Now, he needs to have great, great weapons, and that's why Penn State, they messed up already in the transfer portal. They could have gotten Zachariah Branch from USC. They could have got Casey Concepcion, but instead, Texas A&M ended up getting all these receivers, all these freshmen like Jerome Miles, Casey Concepcion, all these players, like they have Terry Bussey already on their roster. Like A&M at the wide receiver position is absolutely loaded. Okay. There's programs like even Kai Horton, I think, is going to Alabama. Like Penn State did nothing in the transfer portal. I think they got maybe one wide receiver in the transfer portal. They needed to go out, and I guess that they got the guy from Troy that I do like in the transfer portal. So they might have two wide receivers. I think that they needed to make even more of a splash, not only last year, but this year with wide receivers. And that's the thing about James Franklin. So a part of me thinks that next year with Drew Allar, this team can be back. This team can compete. They're probably going to be a 10 or 11 win team. They're probably going to be in the playoffs again. The problem is that if they lose to Oregon at home next year, their road to the playoffs will not be as easy as this one. And this was a golden opportunity for Franklin to go out there and be able to compete for a national championship. If they win this game, they're going to be playing Ohio State, who they're very familiar with, who they lost to by 1 touchdown. They're going to be playing Ohio State, or they're going to be playing a Texas team that Arizona State took to the wire. It would be a tough game, but they would have had an opportunity for a national title in Atlanta. So this game could really sting for Penn State if they don't put it together and win it next year. And for the seniors, it's obviously going to sting. Because I believe that Penn State, with their weapons that they have all over the field with Singleton, Allen, the offensive line, Abdul Carter, Sutton, defensively, I think that they had the more talented roster than Notre Dame. And really, Notre Dame's passing game, Riley Leonard still made mistakes. They really shut down the run early on in the first half. But in the second half, the penetration, Notre Dame's offensive line was able to put it to Penn State a little bit. And that's why Mike Denbrock is one of the more versatile coordinators in college football. He was able to go to LSU. He was able to get Jaden Daniels to put up all those massive numbers. And it was like video game passing all over the field with Jaden Daniels. But then at Cincinnati and Notre Dame, he also knows how to coach a game to the defense's strengths. And he knows how to win low-scoring, more run-the-football style games. So he's not just an air raid, let's go light up the scoreboard. He is a pragmatic veteran offensive coordinator. You also have a veteran defensive coordinator who's been a head coach at multiple spots, in Al Golden, all right, who is just coaching really disciplined defense for Notre Dame. And they were able to trick Drew Allar when it mattered. In fact, too, let's look at this possession that people forget in this game. Penn State, before the final possession, was Notre Dame, I believe, like tied up the game on the Great House touchdown. But then it's 5 minutes left, and Penn State then tried to run the ball a little bit, and they got it down to like a 3rd and 3, and that was a massive 3-and-out by the Notre Dame defense that almost gave their offense a chance to go win it. They ended up sacking Drew Allar along the left sideline. Their defense stiffened up in major spots when they needed it the most for Notre Dame last night. And then details like the final possession. They have the ball, after the Allar interception. Ryan Day a couple of years ago in the semifinal game against Georgia, he chose to kind of sit on the football. And then their field goal kicker, Noah Ruggles, had like a 50-yarder indoors at the Georgia Dome as New Year's struck to go out there and beat Georgia. He ended up pulling the ball so left it missed the field goal net. What ended up happening with Mitch Jeter, who's like a 60% kicker during the regular season, the guy is 7 for 8 in the playoffs, which is just the ability of mental toughness of Mitch Jeter to be 7 of 8 in the month of January is pretty staggering stuff. So Mitch Jeter, they know that he likes to play a little draw, and they call a pass play, a pass play on 3rd down, and Riley Leonard's able to be savvy enough to hit Great House right there on the left sideline, and he ends up getting upfield for a massive 12-yard gain that gets it to like the 29-yard line. And then they're able to center the ball and really make it a 44-yarder, which is in Jeter's range. He doesn't have to overstrike the football, and he ended up drawing in that field goal. So now Notre Dame of Marcus Freeman, who's 39, who's in year 3. Marcus Freeman is out here kind of ruining it for young coaches. I mean, he's ruining it for like Dan Lanning, because Dan Lanning, what have we been saying about Lanning? And what have pundits been saying about Lanning, who know a lot about college football? This is a first-time head coaching job for Dan Lanning, and he's only 38 years old and only been coaching 3 years. But now Marcus Freeman is doing something at a young age, whereas all younger coaches or all coaches now in year 3, they're going to be held to the standard of the great ones in the sport. And Marcus Freeman right now is at least a top 4 coach, probably in the sport. We look at Kirby Smart, obviously 2 championships, Kirby and an SEC title this year. But Marcus Freeman went out and beat Kirby Smart. He now went out and beat Penn State. He beat USC, and he went to A&M with Mike Elko and got a win at college at Kyle Field that wasn't very easy. So if he goes out and wins this national title, he's probably going to be like 3rd or 2nd on this list of coaches. I still like Dan Lanning. Kalen DeBoer might be up there on that list. He took Washington to a national title last year. Jim Harbaugh left the sport. I still think Ryan Day has the ability to be right up there with Freeman. And even if Ryan Day wins this national title, Freeman with Notre Dame, Ohio State's going to have a more talented roster. I still think Freeman is younger than Ryan Day and has had less time than Ryan Day. You could make the argument Freeman is an even better coach, maybe stock-wise than even Ryan Day. But they're going to be fighting for that maybe second, third spot. Steve Sarkisian, what he's done at Texas, the turnaround too. I mean, so all these coaches that are around here. James Franklin's like a top 7 coach right now in collegiate football. And Franklin's getting pretty good. And last night they had a golden opportunity. They were favored by 1.5, and that's a game that honestly Franklin could have won against this Notre Dame team. It wasn't like Notre Dame out-talented Penn State. Notre Dame is not meant to come back from behind, and Notre Dame lost their quarterback. They lost their tackle. They lost their guard. They lost their best defensive tackle to start the season. Their running back was banged up. They have injuries on every place on the offensive line. And then their quarterback went out at a crucial juncture. And for that Notre Dame team to not really blink and stabilize the game like in the most hectic of moments is just a testament to Freeman and a testament to Notre Dame. And just where I look at Notre Dame before and after these last couple weeks, I mean, Marcus Freeman has just been on a legendary run, and now they're on the doorstep of a national championship. Now they're going to be playing for the national championship. And the last time Notre Dame did that, it was in the BCS era with Manti Te'o, and it was against Alabama, I believe, in 2012. And they haven't won a national title since 1988 Lou Holtz. Penn State hasn't won a national title until the 80s with Joe Paterno. So this game, I still believe that Drew Allar is going to be a Heisman finalist next year. I believe he's one of the best quarterbacks that Penn State's ever going to see. I just hope that they can get him a couple of wide receivers. And then if Tyler Warren or Singleton goes to the draft, like that's really going to hurt. Abdul Carter going to the draft is going to hurt Penn State for sure. But Drew Allar, another year in the system, he needs to play like 2 times as fast. He is hesitating too much. And next year, Drew, as a senior, can go out there and can even have more confidence in owning the team and it being his team. And that's part of the reason, too, with Bo Pribula leaving, this is totally going to be Drew's show next year, and I just pray for good health for Drew, healthy season, and I'm so excited to watch what Penn State can go out and do next year, and what Drew Allar can do next year, because the guy, to me, he's had all the talent. I haven't really wavered on my opinion of Drew Allar. There's going to be a lot of people where everybody right now is getting their shots in on Drew Allar. Like the onslaught of online criticism for Drew Allar right now at a school like Penn State, the amount of criticism he deals with being a public figure, being a quarterback at one of the largest universities in the United States and playing under one of the most prestigious football programs in the country, that adversity that Drew's going through right now and having to block out the outside noise, that's not only going to be helpful for Drew Allar and his experiences next year. It's going to be helpful for him down the road in professional football and in life as a whole. What he's going through right now, and if he could take these kind of arrows from all of these, fans, from all of these media members, from the whole world's going to be piling on Drew. And that's the last pass that he threw in that season, in a game that he played one of his worst games of the season, in one of the biggest spots for Penn State to go to a place that they haven't been in over 25 years. For him to deal with that pressure, you don't wish that on even some of your enemies. That's going to be incredibly tough. But again, if he's able to weather that adversity, it's going to make him that much better of a player, that much stronger of a person, okay? And it's the old man in the arena quote. So I'm really pulling for Drew Allar to get through this, to shut up all the doubters, and go out there next year and maybe win a Big Ten title, maybe go undefeated, maybe have the season, maybe have the J.J. McCarthy redemption tour with Blake Corum. Remember when those two guys were looking at TCU as the confetti fell and they were just like standing there and they didn't go to the locker room? They like wanted to feel that moment, feel the pain of the purple rain, of the Horned Frogs going and winning that game. Okay, guys, that is powerful stuff. And then when Michigan was able to win that national title, it felt 10 times sweeter, and that adversity helped build that chip that was able to be unconquerable last year in an undefeated season. So, man, oh man, these are the stories in sports that are great. And Drew Allar now has like 1 year to put it all together, and it's going to be fascinating. Because last night was true theater, guys. It was theater. I'll say that with a TH. That game, that close game, everybody on the edge of their seats. Big-time possessions down the stretch. Big-time haymakers being thrown. You know, Sutton with a huge interception. Singleton goes off and runs it in for a touchdown. Riley Leonard then hits Greathouse for that 70-yard touchdown. Back and forth. Punches being thrown the whole way in the fourth quarter, in the second half. First quarter starts off, it's physical. It looks like Penn State's going to end up winning by a comfortable margin, but Notre Dame weathers the storm. They're getting their ass kicked in the first half. It was laughable. Their quarterback, you're not even sure he's going to come back in the game. And Notre Dame ends up coming out on top in the second half. What a job by Marcus Freeman. What a game. What a football game in the semifinal. In the semifinal game. All right. We got ourselves a great playoff game, and it was last night. And these were two fairly even teams. And I could probably go on another 10 minutes about how fantastic that football game was. I hope you guys enjoyed it more than I do. I believe that Drew Allar is going to be a special NFL quarterback, a special college quarterback. I've seen a lot for Drew Allar. I'm not just going to get wrapped up in the moment. I'm not just going to let the emotion of last night cloud what I have said about Drew Allar for 4 or 5 years since he was a junior at Medina, that this kid is special. And we will see how he responds. And we will also see now the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and Marcus Freeman, they are headed to Atlanta. They are going to be playing for a national championship, okay? It could be the first Notre Dame title in more than 28 years, even longer than that.